timing, Warren.
Good evening, how are you?
It's 7 o'clock, and with that, I will give Warren a chance to take his coat off, but with that, I would like to call this meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Northeast to order. I would like to ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, could you conduct a roll call, please?
Yes. Supervisor Kennan?
Here.
Councilman Fidelli?
Here.
Councilman Kay?
Here.
Councilman Woodward?
Here.
Councilwoman Morrison? Here.
Okay, everybody is here. I have submitted an agenda. I would like to amend the agenda to add an item, which will be to authorize the attorney for the assessor's office to sign a consent agreement in a tax cert case. With that one addition, I'd like to ask for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. Sorry that we don't have as much room as I would love. This is our last board meeting of the year. It's been a good year for Town of Northeast town government. We ended the year in a solid financial condition with a budget approved for 2022, which will enable us to move forward with everything that we have underway, including our number one capital project, the highway garage, which we'll get to in a minute. Our zoning board of appeals and our planning board have both been very active, and I would like to thank their chairs, Julie Schroeder and Dale Culver, as well as the members of those boards for their dedication and commitment to their work and to the work of the town. Also, I'd like to thank Edie Greenwood, whose dedication of time and energy and creativity cannot be measured. The work of our zoning review board is critical to the future of the town, and while ZRC's work is hardly done, I can't let the year end without expressing my appreciation to Edie and to all the members of the ZRC. In November, we had an election for the town board. Ralph Fidelli was re-elected. Congratulations. And we will welcome Griff Cooper to the board. I should also note the town justice Casey McCabe was elected to her 4th term as town justice. You heard that right, her 4th term. I was amazed. I had to ask her. But thank you for all your work, Casey, and congratulations. At the end of this year and with this meeting, we'll be losing Councilman George Kay as a member of the board. There is a lot to say about George, and I know that some of my colleagues here would like to say something. But I would just like to say on a personal basis that George has been a great help to me and to the board in the 2 years since he joined the board as a board member. His 10 years of experience on the board have benefited us in many, many ways. And his commitment and his dedication, his knowledge, and the help that he has given me, I just want to express my appreciation and to say that I consider George a friend as well. I don't know if any of the other members of the board would like to comment at this point, but it would be a good moment.
Well, I appreciate everything that George brings to us and his experience, and he's not going far. We'll be contacting him on a regular basis. And thank you.
Well, thanks. Thank you, George. It's been a pleasure serving with you on the board the last 4 years, or 6 years now.
Thank you.
George, it really has been special working with you, and we're going to miss you.
Before we get too weepy, I should note that George will not be excused from his work on the zoning board. I certainly intend to keep him involved in that as well as in the work that we've been doing on the highway garage, because we know where to find you. I would like us just to comment about one other item, which has been something that I've been getting involved in, and which is, to me, a serious issue affecting the town. And that is the situation which Sharon Hospital finds itself in. As people, I'm sure, are aware, Nuvance, which is the company which owns Sharon Hospital, has announced that it intends to close the maternity ward and to cease, birthing and delivery services at the hospital. And I attended a rally in Sharon on behalf of the town to express our unhappiness and our opposition to that intention. I've also been on a meeting with the staff of Sharon Hospital and with a lot of other town officials from Connecticut and New York State to learn more about what the situation of the hospital is. And it's not just the maternity ward that is at issue for Sharon Hospital. The Nuvance has worked to reduce the number of primary care practitioners in this area. It's a very concerning situation. My take on it is that they would be just as happy to see Sharon close. And we in New York State do not have the same status that towns in Connecticut do, because Sharon Hospital is regulated by the state of Connecticut, which gives it its certificate of need. They cannot close a department or cease providing services without the state of Connecticut signing off on it. So the towns in Connecticut and Connecticut officials are working hard to prevent that. But it's something that I think we need to be really aware of here. The closing of a hospital for our community is a really serious threat. For people to have to drive to Hartford in an emergency or to Poughkeepsie is really, could be life-threatening. So you can hear more about it. I intend to be very active on behalf of the town in this regard, so I'll keep you posted. With that, I know that Chief Veeder is here, and I want to let him get on his way, particularly because we're trying to keep the room down to 15 people. Hold on, John, if you could admit people who are trying to watch this. You have a report which I've distributed to the board.
Okay. I'm not sure if everyone has had a chance to think it over yet. We had a total of 45 calls for the month of November. There was 19 in the village and 26 in the town. There were no arrests. Just below those stats, there was, for 2020, the same month of November, a total of 15 calls in the village and 18 in the town, resulting in 4 arrests total. So.
And how do those numbers compare with last year?
Our numbers are higher, our arrests are lower. With the new laws that have changed and district attorney is not prosecuting some laws, then that's why the arrests are down.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the chief? Otherwise, thank you for coming by, and we have the report, and we'll be posting it on our website.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you. Bob, do you have a report, a highway report?
Everything is going well with the highway department. Currently, we are cutting brush and removing dead trees, performing equipment maintenance and patching as needed, and of course, snow and ice removal as needed.
Have we had any snow removal yet?
Just a little, not too much,
Right.
a couple times.
But we're well stocked with sand and salt.
It's well stocked,
Yeah.
equipment's ready to go.
Okay. As everybody may know, at the new highway garage site, we have 2 new fuel tanks, much more modern and capable than the ones that we had down at the old highway garage site. And as part of our determination to share our highway garage site with the village, which we do, the village is not only using a portion of the storage building there, but is also fueling their vehicles from our tanks. We more recently received a request from the fire district as to whether they could also fuel their vehicles from these tanks. We get our fuel on a state contract, and so the fire district is now also fueling their vehicles. So this is an example of the town doing its best to share and to make us one community in every respect as much as we can. Are those tanks working out?
Working on very well.
Great. Anybody on the board have any questions for Bob? Thank you, Bob. We just had the police report. The board has received from Tilly reports from the planning, building, and zoning departments. And the board also received a report from the dog control officer. I think that was it. I think those are the ones. Town board committee reports. Do we have, is there a recreation committee report at this point? No, okay. How about a police committee report?
The only thing we have to report is that we've tried on numerous occasions to get a meeting scheduled, and we have not gotten a response from the village portion of our committee.
Have we asked them since our last board meeting?
We have not,
Okay,
but at least 3 times prior to that.
right. No, I am aware of that, okay. We will continue to try and get that. I don't know whether it's going to happen in the couple of weeks that remain, but it is very much on my mind to get that. And personnel committee, you might just mention that the personnel committee has reviewed the employee handbook.
We have reviewed the employee handbook. I might mention, I'd like to propose at this time, in our employee handbook, it states that if there's a holiday that falls on a Saturday, they get the day prior off, which is Friday. However, that's Christmas Eve day, New Year's Eve day, and they normally get a little break on those days. I'd like to propose that we close the offices 3 o'clock on the day prior, on Thursday prior to that. The highway crew, the offices, since they normally would be closing a little bit early on Christmas Eve day and New Year's Eve day. I don't know how the board feels about that, but I'd like to propose that we do something like that so that they don't miss out on that.
Okay. we have an item to set the holiday schedule for town employees, which is number 13.
Oh, maybe that's where we'll do that.
That's when we'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Anna. Okay, the next item is a resolution of approval to solicit bids for the construction of the town highway garage. And by way of background, the town, hang on one second. Pretty good. As people I'm sure know and are probably tired of hearing about, the town has a new highway garage site up on Route 22. We have completed the construction not only of the fueling depot, which I talked about, but also of the a storage building and a salt shed, salt sand structure. I'm not sure I can really call it a building because it doesn't really have windows or doors, but it holds a lot of sand and salt. The last piece of this project is the actual highway garage to replace the building that is down on South Center Street, which is decrepit. It's 100 years old and it shows it. One of the things which I've talked about in the past, but which I found shocking, is that some of the equipment that is kept in there have to have wheels put on that are smaller than original equipment so that they can get underneath the door. It's really not a way to keep equipment. It's falling down, it's not heated well, it's energy extremely inefficient. And we have a design for a new garage. We did put we authorized the town to go out for bid on a new garage. Earlier this year, the bids we received were almost $1 million higher than the cost estimate of the building, so the board rejected those bids. It was also at a time when there was a real spike in materials costs and a very substantial shortage of labor, which we believe contributed to the size of those bids. In any event, we intend to go back out to bid. We want to put this out to bid in the wintertime when contractors are starting to fill up their schedules for the summer. We want to be ahead of schedule. When we did it this year, we were later than I would have liked. So my hope is that we'll be able to put this out to bid in January, very early in January, when people have come back from the holidays and are focused on putting together their work schedule for the year. With that, we have a resolution which Warren has prepared, which we had a previous resolution, but that was dated and those bids were rejected. So we have a new resolution, and I would like to ask Tilly if she could kindly read it for us.
Okay. Resolution authorizing the town clerk and the town engineer to solicit bids for the construction of the new highway garage. Whereas the Northeast Town Board, by resolution dated May 5th, 2021, authorized, subject to a permissive referendum, the construction of a new highway garage building on a town-owned parcel of land in Millerton, New York, in and for the town of Northeast, and whereas the cost of construction of the new highway garage, including original furnishings, equipment, machinery, apparatus, appurtenances, site improvements, and other incidental improvements were authorized by said resolution at a maximum estimated cost of
$3,224,000.
Yeah, and whereas the town board by resolution dated October 14th, 2021, supplemented the original bond resolution to authorize the issuance of an additional
$1,051,000.
in serial bond to pay in part the revised estimated cost of the facility at,
$4,275,000.
with the issuance of
$1,051,000.
additional bonds by the town, and Whereas pursuant to the resolutions, the project was put out to bid and the town board received and rejected all bids and determined to rebid the project. Now therefore, be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes and directs the town engineer and the town clerk to rebid the said highway garage project in accordance with the requirements of General Municipal Law, Section 103.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's a team effort. George, you have any comments about this? You've been dealing with this for a while.
And it looks like I'll still be dealing with it a while afterwards. It's something that we need to get done. We've already got the first two parts of this project completed. It's something that we need to do. There's no reason why, hopefully the bids may come in a little lower than what we expect. We have made some adjustments in the building itself that will hopefully help us in doing that. Where hopefully the materials will be at a cheaper rate than what we had expected. It's time to get it done.
Yeah, well, I very much agree, and I think that the timing that we're looking at is as optimal as we can find at this point. I have talked with Bob about the timing for going out to bid, and we agree that to put it out to bid right before the holidays, when people are home for Christmas, New Year's, other holidays, is difficult because they start to focus on it. They need to get subcontractors lined up. They might be away, then come back to it. I think it will be better to put it out right away, first thing in January, and let them focus on it. So that's the intention. Does anyone else on the board have a comment? If not, I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Tilly, roll call?
Supervisor Cameron,
Aye.
Councilman Fidale,
Aye.
Councilman Kaye,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison. Aye.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is another very important item for our community. As people, I'm sure, are aware, we've been talking about getting a sewer built in this town for a long time, for decades. And it has been elusive. It's been daunting, and it just hasn't moved forward, despite efforts over the years. More recently, with the help of technology, which has changed, which I'm going to just leave this thing facing the room now so that people don't have to look at me for an hour and a half. Gotcha. With the benefit of technology, which has changed, which means that we no longer face having to rip up Main Street and install a 2-foot diameter sewer, and particularly with a focus on the importance of wastewater system for our town, both environmentally to reduce the impact of individual septic systems, many of which are failing, many of which are in really close proximity to others, and also aware that there is starting to be more funding available for water and wastewater projects than there has been in a long time. The village has started to move ahead on a wastewater system. The concept which the village has put forward is for the village to develop a wastewater district, which would be in the village, and to construct a treatment plant, which would be in the village, and that when they have done that, the town would also create a wastewater district in the town and identify it, lay it out, survey it. The basic concept is that it would start with the Route 44 Boulevard District, that commercial district, going out at least to Kelsey Brook, maybe further. In order to move forward on this, there is something called a map, plan, and report. Don't ask me who came up with that name, but that's what it's called. And we have engineers who are working with the village, who are doing the same thing for the village, and who are prepared to do that for the town in terms of assessing a potential district. Lana Morrison is serving on the wastewater committee, which the village has put together. So have I got that more or less right in describing
You do.
what?
And we've been meeting on a weekly basis, and we're getting very close to go out and visiting properties that will possibly be in the phase 2 process of it, to see if they want to be connected to it. And they're just waiting for us to decipher what our district is and move forward with it.
So this is the first, this is really the first tangible step that the town has taken towards a wastewater system for the community. And we received what's called ARPA money. This is the money that was provided to towns for water, wastewater, broadband, and a few other fairly limited purposes. So we actually have funds in hand to move forward on this aspect of the project. Further down the road, obviously, the big challenge is funding it. And that's not a small challenge, but as I said, there are more opportunities out there, more resources that are being made available, including the recently passed so-called bipartisan infrastructure bill, which has money in it for wastewater. So with that, we have a resolution appropriating money to pay the cost of preparing a map, plan, and report for the creation of a proposed wastewater district within the town of Northeast, centered around Route 44 Boulevard District. Tilly, would you be kind enough to read this one as well?
Sure.
Doesn't have any numbers in it.
Thank you. Resolution appropriating a specific amount to pay the cost of preparing a map, plan, and report for the creation of a proposed wastewater district within the town of Northeast, centered around Route 44 Boulevard District. Whereas the Village of Millerton is in the process of developing a wastewater district for the Village of Millerton, and whereas the Village of Millerton has completed a wastewater feasibility evaluation for the Village of Millerton in March of 2020, which was revised in June of 2020 to address comments received from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation. And whereas the said wastewater feasibility evaluation report delineated a proposed wastewater district for the Village of Millerton with a portion of said district in the town of Northeast centered around Route 44 Boulevard District, see map and parcel listing annexed here to as Schedule A. You have these, right? And whereas the engineering firm of Ty & Bond has been retained by the Village of Millerton to develop a map, plan, and report for the said sewer district, and whereas the town of Northeast is considering establishment of the wastewater district in the town of Northeast in conjunction with the creation of the district of the Village of Millerton, and whereas the town board has determined, based on the estimate prepared by Ty & Bond, that the engineering firm of Ty & Bond Engineering and Landscape Architecture, PC Ty & Bond, is duly qualified to prepare such map, plan, and report as required by Section 209B of New York State Town Law. And whereas the town board has determined that the cost of the preparation of the map plan and report will not exceed $10,500, and whereas the town board anticipated that the cost of the preparation of such map plan and report will be reimbursed to the town through available grants and aids, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Northeast in regular session duly convened as follows. 1, that the engineering firm of Ty and Bond be and hereby is directed pursuant to the provision of Section 209B of the New York State Town Law to prepare a map plan and report meeting the requirements of said section of the law in accordance with its proposal dated November 19th, 2021. 2, that the expense incurred for the preparation of the map plan and report shall be a general charge and shall be levied and collected in the same manner as other town charges, except that it is anticipated that the preparation of the map plan and report will be completely funded by one or more grants. 3, that this resolution, in accordance with Section 24 of the Municipal Home Rule, Article 7 of the New York State Town Law, and 209B of the New York State Town Law, is subject to a permissive referendum.
Thank you. Warren, as we move forward on this, I'm sure we're going to be looking to you for guidance, because one of the things that we will be doing down the road is figuring out how we mesh this with the village's project.
Yes.
And so
Complicated.
it will be complicated. This is a simple step today, but it's going to be a lot more complicated down the road.
Right, this is the first step in the process.
So it's a historic moment. It's further than the town has gotten before.
Yes, very exciting.
In any event, does anyone on the board have any further comment on this? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
In a second.
Okay?
I'll do roll call.
Yes, please.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidel?
Aye.
Councilman Kaye?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Okay.
We referred earlier to the town's employee handbook. I've sent a copy of the handbook to members of the board. The changes are relatively minor, but I would like the board to approve the changes to the employee handbook. So I'd entertain a motion to approve those changes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. The next one is resolution approving procurement of a blanket undertaking for town officials and employees. And Warren, I'm going to have to ask you to explain this one, because it is mystifying to me. I know it's something that towns are required by law to pass.
Right. Normally, when you're a town official, town employee, you would be subject to the requirement of an undertaking, which would be a bond, to ensure that if you reach your fiduciary duty, that those expenses to the town, cost of the town, be covered by the bond. In lieu of having each employee and official post their own bond, which is very difficult for municipalities, the law allows the town to pass what's known as a blanket undertaking, where there would be one undertaking that would be under our sort of our errors and omissions policy by our insurance company, which would cover all of the officers and employees. So when we adopt this, each individual employee and officer doesn't have to post an undertaking. You're automatically covered by this blanket undertaking. It's a little mystifying, but it's actually not that.
Well, we've done it before, nothing bad happened.
Nothing bad happens, that I can guarantee you.
Okay, well, in that case, I would like to take a motion to accept the that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Could you do a roll call on this one?
Yes. Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kaye?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Okay, the next item is this is something that was recommended to us by our Climate Smart Communities Task Force, and which has been worked on by the task force. It's an environmentally preferable purchasing policy resolution. It's one of the items which is on a fairly long list of items which towns who have signed up for the Climate Smart Communities program are encouraged to complete. And when they've done enough of them, they go from simply being registered as a climate smart community to actually being certified. The lowest level is bronze. The task force has been working towards getting certified as a bronze, at the bronze level, and has made a huge amount of progress towards that goal. This is one of the items. There have been a number of others which have come up at previous board meetings, and there will be more down the road. Anyway, this one is, one of the wonderful things about this one is that we are essentially already compliant with it, but it's a good policy to have. It reminds us that the materials that we buy for the town come from somewhere, and we should be conscious of that. So I'm going to read this one
Okay.
to spell you here. Whereas the town of Northeast aims to reduce energy demand in local government operations, and whereas the town of Northeast wishes to extend its commitment to climate action, to influence climate action and efficiency outside its own operations, and whereas demand for energy efficient and environmentally responsible products will improve market penetration, and whereas establishing an environmentally preferable purchasing policy institutionalizes decisions on appliances, products, and materials. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Northeast will purchase appliances, IT equipment, and HVAC equipment that is certified Energy Star unless unavailable or cost prohibitive. 2, stationery and copier paper that has a minimum of 30% recycled content. Paper towels and toilet paper has a minimum of 50% recycled content. We'll also prioritize purchases that use LED light bulbs, use rechargeable batteries, use Forest Stewardship Council certified wood or locally produced and or recycled materials for furniture, furnishings, and cabinets made from wood. Avoid single-use plastic and food containers, and include organic and locally produced foods. I think this is also a very important resolution and statement of principle for the town. Any comments from the board? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Yes, please.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kaye?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
And Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Okay. I have previously, let's see where we are here. The board has received a copy of a contract with the Pine Plains Veterinary Associates. This is for housing dogs apprehended by the dog warden. We have a contract with the Pine Plains Vet. They have not changed their fees since 2016, but they are proposing a change in the boarding charge from $22 per dog up to $25 per dog per day. With that, otherwise the contract is the same as it has been in the past. So I'd like to entertain a motion to authorize me to sign this contract.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There are two other items which need to be approved. First is the building department fee schedule. This is something which the board looks at every year. There are very few changes in the fee schedule for the building department. I also have a request from the clerk for a change in the genealogical search fees for 2022. We are out of line with other towns around here in the fee that we charge for genealogical searches. What do we charge at the moment?
10,
10, and what are surrounding towns?
22.
22?
And we've had to give money back, return checks, because people are overpaying.
So the proposal is to move that fee to be consistent with other towns at
All of them, and New York State.
at
22.
At $22 for genealogical search fees. I'd like to entertain a motion for the board to approve the building department fee schedule and the genealogical search fees.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I have,
Do the ayes and nays?
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I distributed to the board a copy of I mentioned this previously, copy of a consent agreement on a tax cert case, and it's in front of you. All we need at this point is approval of the board for Ian McDonald to sign the agreement. And our assessor, who's not here but has communicated with me today, is asking the board for its approval. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve that tax cert agreement.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a presentation by the working group of the Tri-Town Housing Coalition. Sam Bussell has contacted me and asked for the opportunity for 10 minutes on our schedule to present to us. And with that, Sam, we have two other.
Do we need one person? I'm going to present first. Can I have one person leave or is that or lawful? Okay. All right, I got it. Hi. Hey. Hi. You want me to stand here? Right here?
Megan is our first presenter.
Okay.
Hello. I'd like to introduce the Tri-Town Coalition, which is made up of the towns of Northeast, Village of Millerton, Amenia, and Pine Plains, focusing on creating housing for all. We represent the Northeast Millerton Working Group, who you'll be hearing from tonight. The Tri-Town Coalition worked with Hudson River Housing, who applied and received a grant from the Berkshire Taconic Community Foundation to hold a series of local affordable housing community training workshops. They then in turn contracted the Regional Plan Association, RPA, to chair and conduct 3-part Zoom courses. We've had 2, October 28th, November 16th, and the next one is January 18th. Overall, 62 people have signed up, and the great news is that we have 31 people from the town of Northeast and Millerton, which is a great reflection of local support. The 3 workshops focus on changing the narrative surrounding affordable housing and for participants to become effective advocates for change in our community. So the reality of what is affordable to each family when 30% of their monthly income should go to housing costs. Here are a few examples. One person making $15 an hour, about $31,000 a year, can really only afford $780 a month in rent. A family of 3 with an annual income of approximately $55,000 can only afford $1,300 a month, which would then afford a home approximately $165,000. A family of four who actually has two people working and maybe like in retail and manufacturing for a combined income of $80,000 could really only afford $2,000 a month or a $245,000 home. So obviously, we don't have many of those affordable housing options here and need a variety of workforce housing options, including apartments and modest homes on smaller lots. Some estimate the need could be up to 350 units. The need for housing was echoed during the library's community conversation workshops too. During our trainings, a majority of our town and village residents expressed they were not aware of our local government is going through a major zoning review and revision process. So public messaging is a key. After the trainings, the second phase of the grant is for RPA and the housing ambassadors to hold a variety of community forums surrounding ideas and speakers in housing-related subjects. So more info to come, and we invite all of you to join when they do. The next speaker is Tom Parrott. I can go here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Parrott. My wife and I have lived in Coleman Station for about 37 years. I have the job of pointing out from an observer's perch what doesn't seem to be working in the zoning review process, which is ongoing. I'm not a zoning expert. I am a process expert, having run many creative processes for successful projects, large and small. Usually a process starts after three things have been decided: a clear understanding of the current circumstances. Second, simple, achievable goals have been identified, which grow out of the circumstances. And third, a breakdown of the problems likely to crop up. The town's prolonged zoning review process, to our minds, leaped straight into the nitty-gritty, skipping this whole upfront part. Communities don't change their zoning very often, which is a good thing. Our town needs to seize this rare opportunity to improve our zoning code, not to preserve the town we live in, but to lay the groundwork for a town equipped and ready for the future. That is, a town that corrects inadequacies of the past and present. May have just pointed out some few very good ones. A town that in 20 years is vibrant with economic diversity, full of the life young families have brought here. What's absolutely critical is decent new housing that people just starting out or retiring on a fixed income can afford, and housing for the modestly middle class. This is not a design problem. Such housing has been built in other places. It is a lack of recognition of the problem by community leaders. For instance, our revised zoning code must excite progressive housing developers about investing here. They need to know they have the flexibility to innovate. It also must tell for-profit developers, the company behind the McGee Hill Road project comes to mind, that affordable housing is a core principle of our town's future. If developers are allowed to build luxury weekend retreats, they should also build housing for the skilled workers who will service those pleasure domes, for the teachers who will teach the children of those service people, for the sales associates who will attend them as they shop in local stores, for the firemen who will rescue them when their solar batteries overheat. This is a wonderful small community, but nothing is small anymore thanks to the internet. And wealth is expanding out of New York City like a sonic boom. Becoming a prosperous, economically diverse place depends on the vision and encouragement of our civic leaders, where the future will shape Northeast and Millerton. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Yes, I can beat him. I've been here 45 years instead of his 37. Involved in a number of things involved with the town and also with the community center. But until recent events, unforeseen events, the recession and the devastating economic downturn, the impact on our community has been really the status quo has been maintained for as long as I've been here in terms of any major efforts to change the configuration. More recently, the town and village contracted for a long overdue revision of the comprehensive plan. We now have a blueprint for future growth. It is frustrating that we have not had any opportunity to have what has been referred to as a collaboration between the village and the town. And we as a working group represent both the village and the town for affordable housing, but we don't have the kind of feedback or the kind of cooperation and collaboration that I think is absolutely necessary. We must systematically address the goals of the plan, which is my key interest here, through the deliberate implementation of specific recommendations, recognizing what Tom alluded to, only deliberate change can redirect our efforts towards equity and accessibility for all. I recommend in this case that we back up a step in terms of this steering committee, in terms of the comprehensive plan, and configure a joint steering committee of the town and the village. I think that is, again, back where we should have been in the beginning, where the consultant recommended not only a steering committee for housing, but a consultant familiar with the trends in the support of affordable housing. This committee can articulate the direction for future development, a North Star is frequently called, reflecting recommendations of the comprehensive plan to guide decisions and promote progress. Collaboration is critical between the village and the town to engage both municipalities and jointly endorse next steps. We're working with one hand behind our back because we don't have this kind of cooperation. I think it was referred to in another aspect of your report today from Lana. The consultant will provide up-to-date examples of physical solutions to reduce the inequities built into our current zoning code. And that can be documented in many, many ways in terms of the ability for people to buy or rent in this community. The task of our working group reinforces the goals and recommendations of the comprehensive plan, allowing, and I'm suggesting we have zoning review committees on both at the village and the town to seek professional input to incorporate a new progressive approach to zoning that addresses equity and affordability. Again, our plan doesn't do that at the moment. A consensus to adopt progressive zoning regulations will increase the likelihood of attracting developers, as Tom mentioned. Messaging by the RPA housing experts, as Meg outlined, will attract countless informed ambassadors to ensure that advocacy doesn't die down. Alliances with Hudson River Housing is to strengthen our capacity to develop housing. Alliance with Pine Plains and Amenia will enhance our efforts to for project funding by state, federal, and philanthropists. And we need to consider financing methods such as tax incentives, a housing trust, or private investors to increase our potential for meeting the critical need. The Milton Northeast Working Group has worked diligently to jumpstart housing alternatives. When the town and village join in force, our efforts will magnify and prospects increase. I welcome the town board to join us. Thank you. And introduce our last speaker.
You guys are glad there's only one more. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
Hi, the board, and Thank you for having us.
As we all know, we're once again in a housing crisis, and we have a serious lack of affordable and available housing in our community. It really hurts our community's ability to thrive and creates stress on residents who are struggling to make their lives here. Right now, we can use the power of the moment to act and to define and announce out loud our commitment to an improved quality of life in our town through the steps we take to create and maintain diverse housing opportunities. I saw a friend move here with 3 friends from Poughkeepsie for a calmer, safer life and ended up leaving after 2 years because her dilapidated rental downtown was too expensive and there were no other suitable options. It was very sad for those kids who had made good friends at Weevatuck. I've also watched his coworkers move from lousy place to lousier place and eventually out of town limits altogether, priced out of the town they grew up in. And if you move out of the town district, of course, it's very hard for the kids. While we can't control the market, we can put in place mechanisms that soften its blow, and that means affordable, attainable housing and protection against outrageous rent. I am asking the town board tonight to make a commitment to promoting what we stand for and to put those words on the town website, a motto of sorts. We have those words ready to go from our comprehensive plan. Let's show and prove that we really do value diversity in income, age, and ethnicity, that we push back on reactions based out of fear, because the truth is that housing keeps people and brings people, and people have vibrancy and opportunity, support businesses, and fill our schools with energy. We want to be proud of where we live and be able to say, hey, my town is great to live in, and you can live here too. We want to be a place that says welcome, and you can see it on the face of our town, hear it through the grapevine, and read it on our website. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot.
Thanks, Elliot. And Elliot's a great contributor to the general involvement of our community members. And that finalizes our presentation. Recognizing that the makeup of the board is changing for the new year, we will make this presentation available to the town board members in writing with the hope that the issues presented will be considered in 2022. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sam and Meg and Tom and Elliot. I know that the board hears you loud and clear, and we will be working to find ways to implement what our vision is for our town, which I think very much comports with yours, doing it in a way which is not just words, but actions which actually permit change. Because it's easy to put words on a website, as I've learned, now that I've learned how to work the website. Anyway, I really appreciate your presentation, and I hope we will get a paper copy of it so that when Griff Cooper joins the board, he can have the benefit of that, and we'll look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is to set the holiday schedule for town employees. And Warren, by the way, I think, just before you head out, I think we're probably all set with you. So if you need to take off, please do so. And
I'm going to do that if you don't mind.
No. All the best for the... I'm sure I'll be talking to you again before the end of the year, but in the meantime, we're wishing you all the best.
Thank
you for your help.
Holiday to everybody, and a great new year.
Yeah.
We're going to miss you terribly. So thank you for all your contribution and good work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
However, I won't be going away.
No.
And,
Good night, everybody.
yeah, good night.
Good night. Keep watching.
The next item is to set the holiday schedule for town employees, and we had a suggestion from Lana and the Personnel Committee to, in addition to the day preceding Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
I propose that the
To-
Thursday prior, close the offices and the highway department 3.
At 3 o'clock.
Gives them a little bit more room, a little more time off.
Yep.
I think it's
Because
a good,
normally we would close early on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, but they're gonna get that day off prior because it falls on a Saturday.
yeah, I think that's a good, it's a good move.
Yep. With that, I'd like to ask the board for a motion to approve the holiday schedule.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have 3 sets of minutes to approve. The first one are the minutes of a regular town board meeting of November, and I think I've got a typo in here. It wasn't the first.
No,
It was the 10th.
10.
Okay. Which have been sent to you by Tilly. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the board meeting of November 10th?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. There was a special town board meeting on November 17th, 2021, and Tilly has sent you the minutes of that meeting. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
And then lastly, there was a special town board meeting on November 29th, 2021. You have those minutes, and could I have a motion to approve those?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
14.
Yeah, set the reorg meeting.
Yep. We have, yes, where did the reorg meeting? Okay,
14.
I missed that one. The reorganization meeting, familiarly known to all towns as the reorg meeting, is set for Monday, January 3rd at 5 p.m. With that, we have public comment period. Do we have any comments from members of the public? Louise, hello.
Hi, I'm Louise Merriman, and I'm here to once again voice my concern about the inactivity of the police committee. And hearing that they've been asked, I don't know who they is, well, it's 2 members, as I understand it, 2 members of the town board, 2 members of the village board, elected officials who somehow find it okay that they just simply don't fulfill the responsibilities in the description of the committee. And I don't think that being asked to hold the meetings and just not responding is really good for the townspeople. And in addition, I think that it is the responsibility of the committee to offer and invite and encourage the citizens to come to meetings, to open meetings, because it happened so quickly that we had to come up with the Police Reform Act to put it into the state. All that we turned in was really a chopped up version of what the county did. It did not involve any, there wasn't enough time to really find out how people feel about how do they want to be policed, how do they envision public safety in our town, how can we best serve the needs of the community. And it's very frustrating as just being a citizen, because it seems like, okay, did that, we'll move on now. And this is super important to the quality of life in town. So I hope that there will be an opportunity soon.
Bill?
Hi, Bill Kish. I guess I'm reiterating what Louise had to say. As you know, we've been asking for many months about when we would be able to appear at a joint police committee meeting. I guess what I'd like to say is that I believe very strongly, and I hope that all of the members of the town board and the police committee also agree, that the police should be responsive to the needs of the community and the desires of the community. The police shouldn't exist as a entity to themselves, making their own policies, making their own decisions about what their role in the community is. But because the village has not been responsive, we've not been able to have an opportunity to have that dialogue, which I think is really important. If I was on the police committee, I would be banging on Matt Hartzog's door. I would be showing up at the village board meetings and saying, why aren't you guys responding? But that being said, you do have some power here as a board. You are paying money to support the police department. And if the village is not interested in collaborating with the town to draw up a vision for policing, then I would say, stop doing that, or at least bring up that option with the village so as to put some pressure on them. Because we are being represented by you, those of us who are town members. And without that opportunity, I feel like I have no representation with respect to policing, and that doesn't make me feel good. So I would ask that there be all efforts made to ensure that we have a meeting early in the new year. And I would really recommend and request that the first order of business of that meeting would be for the police committee to define its mission statement. Because everybody that I speak to about the police committee seems to have a very different idea about what the committee is supposed to be doing. We know that the language of the agreement that formed the police committee says that the police committee should seek input from the public and provide advice and recommendations to the local government. That seems to be a very good starting point. But we need to go a little bit further and determine what exactly the committee wants to hear from the citizenry and how they're going to hear that, and then what they're going to deliver to the government in terms of recommendations. So, it's been months and months and months. It's been since May since this meeting has happened, and I think I've shown up at almost every meeting asking the same question. So I will just ask that the entire board commit itself to ensuring that if we are going to be, as a town, party to owning a police force, we have a police force, right? That we take it seriously as a responsibility, that you take it seriously as a responsibility, to set out the vision for that police force. Really, really important. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I would just like to say...
Could you give us your name?
Nuno Ramos.
Yes, thank you.
For the committee members, I just one more time would like to ask them and for them to think seriously if they should be part of that committee, because there's a lot of interesting work going on. There's a lot to do. The committee doesn't have to be made of board members, and again, they should just think hard, because it's a difficult job to do, and just think about it and see if it's you fit to be on that committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? If not, I'd like to make a comment about that. since all the comments have addressed the issue of the police committee. I think these are very fair questions, and I feel frustration with our inability to get the village, which chairs the committee, to agree to have a meeting of the committee. And it raises a question in my mind about whether a committee structured like this between two different governments really works. So that is in my mind right now as to whether that is a structure that makes sense. And I know we will pound on the table and ask again to have a meeting, but I do think that we, at the town level, the town board level, in the new year, want to think about how we interact with the village and its police department. Because that's it's a broad question, and we don't run that police department, which is one of the structural challenges of this. We contribute funds to it, which, as Bill said, gives us a certain amount of leverage, but we don't run it on a day-to-day basis, and we don't tell them how to run it. So I will look forward in the new year, and I commit myself in the new year to addressing this, because I want to make sure that we have something that we feel good about in terms of our input and our participation.
Thank you.
Either of you want to add anything to that, or disagree with me, or?
I agree with you. It's been very frustrating on our part. We have done as much as we know to do to try to get these meetings scheduled. We know that we need to do it. We don't get a response. We've tried it at least on 3 occasions. We do not get a response. We are as frustrated as you are. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what more to do.
Can I say?
Sure.
Is there any reason why the town itself couldn't at least start discussing from the town's point of view and getting town members to feel comfortable enough to come and give input and begin to get a feel of at least what the town's residents are looking for, what their concerns are?
One of the things which was recommended in the work that was done on the reform plan was for members of the towns, in this instance, I'm really just speaking about the town, police committee, to reach out to members of our community, especially to members of our community who might not be eager to show up in person. And they have been doing that. I'm aware of 4 or 5 different conversations, specific conversations, that Lana and Ralph have had with members of communities here that are not, always represented at town hall meetings. And I think that's been very, very helpful. So
It's been positive.
there have been things going on which, those conversations we don't make public, we don't provide names and so on, but they've been going on, and I think it's a testament actually to the sincerity of our police committee members to do that. Yes, sir.
It seems to me that it would be possible to summarize the results of those conversations without exposing any personal information.
Sure, absolutely.
But I agree that it makes sense in the absence of village participation for the town members of that committee to move forward and hold a public meeting to receive public input and also to start the process of defining the goal of the committee. So, if the village won't participate, then, move ahead. It will show them what real leadership looks like.
Well, in the new year, on January 3rd, we reorganize, so we reshuffle all of our committees. So You'll see what the new police committee looks like at that point. But, I think those are very fair suggestions.
Is there anything that prohibits enlarging the committee to include some citizens? Because I don't think you're going to get a real feel of what's happening if it's just private discussions and then the public only hears from a few elected officials. I don't think that, first of all, they might not necessarily trust that that's the real vibe that you're hearing, but it fosters trust is one way to look at it, comfortability between people who might not necessarily otherwise speak to each other or share their considerations, and it enlarges everybody's perspective of what the police and the social services have to deal with, have to supply.
Let's see let's put together a committee in January and see where we go with. That could.
Well, that's why I'm putting that in your mind.
Yeah, it's there.
Perhaps it could be expanded.
I got it.
Just check it.
Any other comments?
I guess I have one more comment. In terms of the coordination of funding options for housing, I know there has been a request for proposals was submitted by the county for towns and villages to get funding to do something, to get some professional advice from the Pace Law Center on the subject of zoning. And I believe that the village applied for that, and the town did not apply for that. I was not aware of it until a week before it was due. But I think that if we're looking for funding, we need to have a resource that gives us a listing of what's available, so that one of our volunteer committees can react to that. Particularly in this case, I was reminded in terms of the zoning review committee, and your mention, Chris, of Edie's work with both the comprehensive plan and the zoning review. She was also involved with the comprehensive plan working with the village. And that kind of communication didn't come to the fore until, I talked to her before, after that proposal was submitted. So I do think that if we have just that kind of collaboration, which says, and we're not two different, we are two different organizations, but we're one community. So I do think that we need to do as much as we can to encourage that kind of cooperation and coordination. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, supervisor's report. I have a budget adjustment. In A fund, an expense increase of $8,421, less an expense decrease of $6,447, less a revenue increase of $1,974 for a net of zero. Could I have a motion to approve the A fund budget adjustment?
Second. George?
George and Lana.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. B fund, we have an expense increase of $535, less an expense decrease of $35, less a revenue increase of $500 for a net of zero. Can I have a motion to approve the B fund budget adjustment?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I have a special abstract dated November 30th, 2021, totaling $10,760.29, broken down as follows. For A fund, $2,154.25. D DB Fund, $8,606.04. Could I have a motion to accept the special abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I have a special abstract dated December 1, 2021, totaling totaling $60,053, broken down as follows. A Fund, $28,224.91. B Fund, $6,605.83. DB Fund, $25,222.26. Could I have a motion to accept the special abstract?
So moved.
Ralph?
Second.
John? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. I have an abstract dated December 9th, 2021, totaling $101,197.72, broken down as follows. A Fund, $49,980.19. B Fund, $8,290.43. DB Fund, $42,704.86. Payroll T and A, $222.24. Could I have a motion to accept the abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I always know that Lorna is watching very closely to see whether I get those numbers right. All right, I think with that, we have a voucher committee for January 2022, which will be Ralph and Councilman-elect Griff Cooper. There will be no meeting of council. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
Ralph, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, George.
That's it.
That's it. That's a wrap.